1. I never mistook this job for low risk, but I never imagined it could potentially get me thrown in jail. We got a pretty sketchy delivery call at a late hour. Our front of house is constantly slammed with everyone desperate to eat at a table again, now that the vaccine's out, and they were in the weeds, so I grabbed the phone. Before I could even finish our standard greeting, the guy just goes, "Yes, Mac, I'm ordering a pizza." I'm not much for small talk either, so I'm rolling with it like, "Good for you, Mac, pick up our delivery." You know, just rattling off the standard questions. He answered the first few, but he seemed hesitant or confused. He argued with some other guy behind him for a sec, then got back on the line and ordered like normal, as though none of the preceding stuff had even happened. Whatever. I got his delivery and out I went. It was the standard large pizza, no toppings, no extras. They were going to pay cash. I pull up, and it's a scary, run-down, sparsely populated apartment complex. Mostly broke college students in there now, though, so I wasn't too concerned or anything. I get to the door, and when I knock, it eases open a bit. This didn't seem like the ideal neighborhood to keep your door unlocked, but not my business. I called in. "Hey, pizza." There was no response. I called a little louder. "Got your pizza out here." And an alarmed voice from inside was like, "Shh, just come in." No. I get that request weirdly a lot, like everyone from sketchy apartment bros to suburban soccer moms, asking me to bring the pizza to the dinner table because they're busy. Some people even pulled this during the pandemic, but it's a long-standing company policy, a damn good one, that entering the home for any reason whatsoever is a hard no. So I said back, "Can't do that, but I can leave it out here if you don't want to come to the door. I just need payment first." There was a silence and then some shuffling, and then the door shut and locked, and the guy was like, "What do you mean payment first? That's not what we agreed on," through the closed door. I was standing there wondering if this was the first pizza this man had ever ordered in his life, because payment first is basically implied, right? But I'm not looking for any confrontations or trying to be an asshole, so I just tell him, "Yeah, so our store policy is payment first." "It's not what Mario and I discussed." So then I thought maybe he was trying to pull some kind of scam on us because nobody at our store is named Mario, and I'm the one who took his order, so I know what was discussed. I decided if they weren't going to pay, I had made a reasonable attempt to deliver and I could safely head out now. As I'm preparing to do so, another guy, looking back now, I realize he didn't even have a box, walks very confidently up to the door, pounds on it like a heavy bag, and grunts, "Pizza's here." I don't know if this dude in the apartment had ordered 2 identical pizzas from different shops, or if our pizza had taken long enough that he thought we weren't coming and called someone else, or I had the wrong apartment or what, but it was weird enough that I decided to just go. Especially because pizza guy number 2 was looking at me with a real intense stare. Way more malice than I'd ever be able to muster on behalf of defending the turf of our joint's pies. He said something like, "Can I help you?" Or, "Wrong apartment." Or something along the lines of a cordial "go the fuck away," but I was already on my way out and didn't really process. I went back to the shop, told the story to the chef. We laughed and guessed what it could have been to drive this man to order 2 pizzas at once. I didn't think about it again for several weeks. Though several weeks later, I was in the shop and a couple cops walk in. Not in uniform, but they had badges. They asked me if I'd been at such and such apartment complex on such and such a day, and I was like, that was weeks ago. I have no idea where it was. So they were like, "In that case, you wouldn't mind coming down to talk to us about what you do remember?" Really nothing. "Well, that's fine. Let's talk anyways and see if there's something you might not realize is relevant that comes back to you." And all this stuff prodding me. I told them I'm working right now, but I can come later next week maybe. But they were really insistent, which should have set off some red flags in hindsight. They were like, "Well, this is really a pressing matter and we'd appreciate it if you came in right now. We'll explain it to your boss so there won't be any problems. You'll really be helping us out." Their not being able to chat to me at work should have been the first red flag, but I knew I had not done anything illegal, so it didn't cross my mind that I could be in any sort of trouble, or have any reason to worry. Especially because when I got to the police precinct, everyone was extremely friendly, like I was actually doing them a favor. They didn't throw me in a cell or try to intimidate me or anything. They brought me in a nice air-conditioned conference room and gave me a comfortable chair and asked if I would like anything to drink, and really just kind of shot the shit with me for 20 or 30 minutes. To this day, still confused about this. I think they even offered to order food, if I remember right. I declined even the most basic offers because I was anxious to get back to my shift. Didn't need my coworkers getting any wrong ideas. I played along and made nice because they did get the okay from my boss to go as long as I needed. But in the back of my mind, I was like, didn't you say this was urgent? They're running short-staffed at work just so we can trade hot takes on the college baseball World Series? Eventually, though, and I think they were trying to be subtle, but they definitely weren't, they shifted to asking me about what they really brought me in to talk about. They asked me if I made a delivery to the apartment complex, and I'd obviously racked my brain between when the cops first arrived and then, so I told them I actually did. That I wasn't sure if it was exactly the day they were quoting me, but it was around then. I figured they'd ask about the delivery, but didn't want to get ahead of their questions. I figured a brain dump of information would make me come off as guilty, plus I didn't want to accidentally tell them more than they were expecting to hear, and land myself there longer. But instead of asking like any of the questions I expected they'd ask, they said, "Man, how long have you known the guys you were delivering to?" Kind of confused, I responded I didn't. I could see that my answer disappointed them, but it was the truth. They collected themselves pretty quickly, though. There were two detectives, the same two who'd come for me at the store, and one kept insisting on the facts as they saw them, and the other kept trying to bend things in my favor. So the Ben guy was like, "Okay, sure. Not like y'all are best friends or anything, but you at least knew them as customers, right?" I wasn't sure what "knew them as customers" was supposed to mean, because to me it was synonymous with not knowing them. So I said no. They changed topics. They asked how long the delivery had been planned for. I told them everything had been ordered same day, unless it was 4 or more pies, and I didn't remember exactly when they called. But per store policy, it wouldn't have been more than an hour before it was delivered, probably sooner based on where they were relative to the store. We went back and forth like this for way longer than I was anticipating. Them asking me questions that seemed to imply I knew something, me feeling super confused and giving them visibly disappointing answers, reminding them I knew nothing. Eventually, they seemed pretty frustrated and they were basically like, "Stop lying to us, man, cut the crap, your friends rolled on you, it's done." I'm sitting here thinking, I have friends? But of course, in all seriousness, I was shocked by the change of tone because I had no clue what they were talking about, and I told them so. And they were both like, "Come on, man, you're just embarrassing yourself at this point." With one trying to reassure me that if I just told them what I knew, they could still help me, and the other one saying I was too stupid to seize this last chance. Well, no reason to sit around and be spoken to like that. I got up to leave. Before I knew what was happening, I was being Mirandized. It was like a horror movie nightmare playing out in slow motion in front of my eyes. So I stopped with my, "I want you to know that I want to get back to work, but I'm gonna be chill out of courtesy" demeanor, and lost my shit at that point. I kept really forcefully, without coming off as erratic, or so I hoped, insisting that I did not even know who they were talking about, like I'd been saying all along. They were not having any of it. They kept saying, "Videotape doesn't lie, man. You want to see the tape before you lock yourself into another lie? The jury's gonna eat this up." Jury? I nearly shit myself. I didn't even turn at red lights half the time. Plus, you had the video all this time you were grilling me to remember what happened, and you could have just shown me a video? What the fuck? I knew I was in over my head at that point. A million thoughts were swirling around, and I was so overwhelmed and scared. I finally said what I should have said way back at the beginning. Though I didn't say it nearly assertively enough, because I was trying to, act innocent, not seem guilty, not make things worse than they'd somehow already become. I was like, should I be talking to a lawyer? And they said, "You want to talk to a lawyer? Did you do something that would necessitate the aid of an attorney?" And the other guy's like, "If you want to talk to a lawyer, we'll get you one, but I have to say, that does not look good on you." And I shouldn't have believed him, as my dad has now drilled into my brain. You never talk to police, only your lawyer does. But at the time I thought, yeah, I guess asking for a lawyer does make it seem like I did it, shit. Then they showed me enhanced frames of the video and timestamps, and they're saying all this stuff. It was really a blur at that point. But one thing in particular stood out. They said something that they'd already said a time or two before, and it hadn't totally sunken in until then. They alleged, "Your buddies thought this would be some quick money. They thought it'd be real slick to order a pizza instead of just calling and saying, 'Bring the stuff up.'" At this point, it had been established they thought I transported some large sum of ill-gotten cash into this apartment, and that we wouldn't be suspicious or we wouldn't follow up. I know you're a good guy. You didn't know what you were getting yourself into, but if you're not honest with us, we can't help you. I had told them repeatedly about the other guy who'd showed up to supposedly deliver a pizza. I even pointed him out on the footage. Unfortunately, the cameras didn't have audio, so they couldn't hear me arguing with the people in the apartment over the few measly bucks, or more importantly, hear this other guy say pizza. Because the other guy didn't have a pizza box, and I did, they didn't believe me that I wasn't the pizza part of this operation. To recap, apparently, what they had uncovered from the real criminals is they were meant to take receipt of some money. The guys inside the apartment were told something like, "That afternoon you'll get a pizza," to try and prevent anyone from saying anything incriminating on paper. These dumb fucks in the apartment did not understand the instructions and actually ordered a real pizza, instead of just waiting for their cash delivery to show up. I'm pretty certain all of that arguing I'd heard on the phone was one of the other criminals asking something to the effect of, "Are you sure you're supposed to order an actual pizza?" Because what else would they have been arguing about right then? So once I connected all the dots, it was a matter of proving my pizza delivery was legitimate. They tried to get a record of the delivery when they talked to my boss, but we're a small shop. We only keep tickets through the end of the week, and we just sign a piece of paper confirming our tip amount every night. These guys wouldn't have factored in since they didn't pay. I didn't have anyone but the criminals to corroborate my story, and there was nothing in it for them to exonerate me. Or they would have done it by now. But then I remembered. The chef. I told him all about this delivery. I begged the cops to talk to him and reminded them I had followed them right out of the store before I'd known what this was about, so they could trust he was totally untainted. Sure enough, he recounted it exactly as I told him, and told the police. The stories matched near identically. The cops went through our phone logs, but these guys had called in their order from a burner, so that was of no help. I figured the chef would be enough, but after I had been in the precinct for nearly 8 hours total, they said they were going to go ahead and hold me until they could verify that I didn't go with a decoy pizza, and somehow give them money another way, or until they found the real delivery guy. They never would, because they didn't believe me that he was the other guy outside of the apartment on the video without a box. I don't know if he had the cash taped to him or what, but the cops were convinced it wouldn't be him because he didn't have any bag, box, or something to hold the money. Finally realizing this was not a misunderstanding that was going to go away. All these years of watching Law & Order kicked in, and I asked for my phone call. I got my dad on the line, and he of course said don't say another word, and showed up with an attorney who had me out within an hour of his arrival. I was formally cleared of all involvement the next day. Barely got an apology. None of this will show up in my record or anything, but still, you'd think they'd be a little more remorseful about what they put me through. My boss gave me a couple of days off, having seen how serious it all was with questioning the chef and searching the phone logs and everything. I think he was just glad I wasn't an embezzler or serial murderer, or otherwise a criminal, because for the longest time, all they would tell him was I was involved in a situation and they needed information. So yeah, tread lightly. Don't be like me and make this your whole career, or do if your only alternative is to be a cash mule for a criminal group. 2. There was a systemic abuse of couponing. People pre-ordering claiming having pretty much 50% off pizzas, but not actually having the coupons. Staff just never bothered to follow up. Well, not on my watch. We got rid of the moochers and focused on taking care of the good customers. If someone had a coupon, they'd earned it one way or another, and as far as I'm concerned, they got the same service a full-price-paying customer would. Cue a busy night, understaffed due to call-outs, and I'm working 2 stations, but I'm used to a busier store, so it's manageable. A rush of people come in all at once. So there's a line of 12 people who basically walked in within 30 seconds of each other. First guy in the line is picking up 20 pizzas, all half-priced. I ask him for his coupon. He says it's in the car. No problem, go get it and we can sort this out. Serve 3 people and he comes back in. Coupon's not in the car, must have left it at home. Our service area is like a max 3-minute drive. 3 stores very close together, same owners. So I tell him no prob, his order is still cooking away, so he has time to go home and get it. His order would be pretty much just about ready by the time he got back. My man starts throwing a tantrum, yelling and threatening, and says I ruined his daughter's birthday party. I tell him that nothing is ruined yet, just get the coupons or pay full price. He goes red in the face, and I tell him that he has time to decide what he wants to do. I'll be serving the next customer now. So Genius here decides he's going to outsmart me. He stands to the side and says the pizzas are cooking already, right? I say yes, most of them are. He gets a smug look on his face and says, "What are you gonna do? Throw them out?" I say no and turn to the queue and call out, "Who wants some half-price pizzas?" And half the wait time. I've gotten and I read out his order list, and a bunch of people react like their Christmas has come early. He can't believe it and storms out of the store. Comes back in 20 minutes later looking sheepish, and says his wife just told him to pay full price. At this point I felt bad for him, but I had to look him in the eye and tell him that all his pizzas had been sold, were gone, out the door, and we'd have to make him all new ones. To his credit, he looked like he was going to turn purple again, but sucked it up and agreed. I promised him we would rush it and have it ready in 15 to 20 minutes max. Waited all nice and quiet, but couldn't help himself once everything was handed over to make some nasty remarks. "Dunno about you, mate, but I'm gonna be over this whole thing the second you walk out the door. Bet you'll be stewing over it for a lot longer than that." 3. I work at a large UK pizza place chain. It's a corporate hellhole, minimum wage, they make you do crazy amounts of online training of stupid stuff like how to wow your customer, and explore what kind of table you have, and tailor your service directly to the category they fit into, and lots of other fun stuff. The new manager we have is a Jobsworth who is crazy about following company procedure to a T. On his first day, he reamed out the staff over stupid things. For example, company standard is to put 1 leaf of parsley on every serving of garlic butter, and it's the waiting staff's job to do it when it comes from the kitchen. Nobody does it for the kids' portions because they usually just throw the leaf of parsley on the floor. He noticed nobody was doing it for the kids' portions and lost his shit. He also got upset that we weren't engaging with the customers enough. We all do the usual pleasantries and small talk while the table is sitting down, but he expects us to have full-on conversations with them. He suggested that if there is spare time in between them ordering and the food needing run to them, that we should stand there and ask about the special occasion that has brought them out to eat, entertain the kids, etc. We all thought it was ridiculous and all complained to each other, after trying it, that we were clearly making our tables feel awkward. The potwash guy was off work with COVID, and we were all sharing running the stuff through potwash, but we were held up by this shit. We tried to speak to him, but he insisted it was company standard. We also have to go out of our way to wow each table in its own personal way. He suggested for the kids ask their name and then spell out the name in powdered sugar when garnishing their dessert. Ugh, fuck's sake. I sometimes do it for birthdays if I hear the kid's name when they're singing happy birthday or if it's a balloon or something. But how creepy would it be if I just asked? Some tables were already not happy because we put our menu up last week and there's been some price raises. There is zero incentive to doing embarrassing shit to wow our tables. They recently fucked up our tips. Previously, tips were pooled and 50% split between front of house and 50% split between back of house. But recently, they gave back of house a pay rise, which was simply raising their share to 70% of the tips. So, taking from some staff to give more to another. I hate this fucking place. 4. Used to work for a very good franchise, but not the big 3. I was AGM. One night it's just me, an insider, and 2 drivers. And things are slow, so I'm letting labor get a little high for the sake of getting some monthly deep cleaning done. Which is a pain, but necessary. In walks a pair of middle-aged women, holding hands and discussing what they can order. Not should, but can. After looking at the menu for a minute, they just asked me what I recommended for a vegan pizza with no sauce, as they didn't like tomato sauce, but normal fresh tomatoes were fine. I asked if that meant no cheese either. Yes. Okay. Have either of you tried our garlic sauce? It's canola oil based, not dairy based, and I really like it. No, but we could try it if it's vegan. May we see the bottle? Of course. So I grabbed the big jug to show them the ingredients and squirt a little into a deli cup so they could taste it. Their eyes lit up. They'd apparently been eating dry pizza with no cheese for years because our ranch, barbecue, and buffalo sauce had dairy, honey, and/or egg. This was a revelation. So I modified our veggie pizza for them after asking about their tastes and making some suggestions. Rang it up in a way so they would get to use a special and told them so. And I ended up making them a large pizza with regular fluffy crust, yes, yeast is vegan, spiral of oil-based garlic sauce, sprinkle of dried garlic granules, Italian seasoning, then baby spinach, green peppers, onions, mushrooms, banana peppers, diced Roma tomatoes, and black olives. I made sure all the spinach was as covered as possible so it wouldn't burn, which is normally what the cheese does, but no cheese. And after thinking, there's nothing on here to hold these toppings together, I threw caution to the wind and added a little more garlic sauce on top. To be safe, I only cooked it 3/4 of the way, and the sauce on top actually did crisp up the veggies and kind of stick them together a little. I then showed them the whole pie and asked if that was done enough, as without the cheese, it might start to burn everything. They said it looked and smelled wonderful. Then, at the cut table, I put more garlic sauce on the crust and seasoned the crust with a zesty Roma seasoning, cut the pie and showed it to them, advising to be careful when they pick up a slice as without cheese, there wasn't really anything binding the veggies to the crust and they might fall off. They nodded and were so happy I took the time to do all this, they decided to sit down right in front of the counter and try a piece before taking the pie home. Both took a few bites, made happy sounds, and came right back to the counter and asked to join our rewards program. I said that's a great idea, because I can actually save that pizza under your phone number so others can pull it up if you want to order it again. They both signed up, and I added the pie to both profiles. Only took a minute. Then they left, thanking me profusely for introducing them to a pizza that wasn't just overcooked veggies on a plain dry crust. They began ordering every 2 weeks or so online for pickup through our drive-thru window, and I was usually the one that made their pizza. They always tipped me $5 if I was the one on shift when they drove up, which went into our tip pool for our insiders. Sometimes they'd order one of our salads with no cheese or extra garlicky breadsticks seasoned with zesty Roma seasoning instead of grated parm when they'd earned free rewards like that. They once said because of me they never ordered from any other pizza place anymore. I left about a year later and heard from old co-workers that they'd asked about me and were sorry I'd moved on, but they'd stayed regulars. It's a nice feeling knowing that putting in a little extra effort to help out and take care of someone had such a large impact on them, even a whole year later. 5. A lady I wasn't delivering to got mad at me. I blocked her driveway. I know you're not supposed to do that, but I was just delivering a pizza. I wasn't expecting to be there longer than 15 minutes at the absolute max. And when I've done it before, hardly anybody cared or noticed because it barely affected them. But the house I was delivering to had no room in their own driveway, and they were right on the curb, which seemed like an even worse spot to park because I could imagine a car turning the curb too fast and hitting my car. So I pulled up a little ways and parked. And yeah, I was blocking somebody's driveway, but nobody was around. As I was getting out, though, a car pulled up behind me. I thought they were going to go around me, but I was getting out to retrieve the pizza. They weren't moving, and I noticed the driver, a woman, making hand signals at me. Like pointing at the driveway, back at my car, and for a second it clicked that maybe it was her driveway. But I was still confused nonetheless. It took me a second anyway. She rolled down her window finally, though, and yelled that I was blocking her driveway. It annoyed me a lot that she felt the need to yell this. Upon her saying this, though, I closed my trunk and hopped into my car to let her in. She pulls in, and I'm thinking the problem is solved. You know, like I thought she got what she wanted, so she'd move on with her life? Nah. Doesn't work like that. When I got out, she was approaching me, asking me if there was a problem. At this point, it just seemed like she was looking for someone to yell and fight with. So I just grabbed my pizza and started walking towards my customer's house. I wanted to get rid of the pizza and leave. I didn't want to engage with this random lady in front of her kid in some dumb argument. I mumbled, though, that it seemed like she was the one with the problem, and she saw my mouth moving and asked me if I just said something. So I just said, "Yes, it seems like you have a problem with me." To which she got even more pissed off and says, "It's common fucking sense to not block somebody else's driveway. That's delivery 101, isn't it?" I didn't respond and just kept walking, which she got mad and walked away too, muttering under her breath. As you can tell, my social skills aren't super strong, but I was trying to leave the situation. Her energy was super aggressive, and I wasn't even delivering to her, so why should I have to deal with it? I don't think it was as big of a deal as she was making it out to be, but it has been bothering me all day. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Parables from the Pizza Oven, number 5. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. If you enjoyed the video, then please do click the like button and leave a comment, and share the video with all your friends, family, and your local pizza driver, why not? Okay, I have a little bit of a shout out to give to the author of story number 4, Reddit user the FireDrake42. Thank you very much, FireDrake42, for allowing me to use your story. Okay, time is against me as it always is. You know, I'd actually forgotten it was 4th of July weekend this weekend, and I looked at my numbers, which are not great right now anyway, but I was like, ooh, wait a minute, that's a dip, it should be higher than that. Then I realized, of course, it's 4th of July weekend. I even said to myself before that, oh, it's 4th of July, of course, numbers are going to be low, because they generally are in big holidays like that. Anyway, what was I doing? Oh yes, I'm wasting time when I have none to waste. That's always the best time to do it. Right, 3:15 right now. I need to have this video done by about 4. Then I need to jet because it's phototherapy day for me. Okay, and with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.